All month long on 207, we have been interviewing the candidates running for major office. We're wrapping up this series tonight with our final interview, and our guest is Mark Holbrook, the Republican candidate for Congress in Maine's 1st District.
Mark Holbrook lives in Brunswick. He's never held public office before, but this is the second election in a row in which he's been the Republican congressional candidate in Maine's 1st District. Thanks for coming in. Good to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks.
Let's talk about your campaign slogan, the tip of the spear.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I represent the point of the will of the people. I'm the one going into Washington with the will of the people behind me pushing.
It sounds kind of, I don't know, hostile, martial. But here's my question.
Everybody projects what they want to onto it, I guess.
All right. Well, let me ask a direct question. Obviously, in Congress right now, there is an extraordinary amount of dissent, disagreement, nastiness. Do you think that we need more cooperation in Washington right now, or more headbutting?
We need more civility. You know, in the course of the campaign, Shelley Pingree and I are at polar opposites in our worldview. And yet, I think that she and I could sit down at this table and try to find some common ground and work together. And that's all about building relationships, being able to talk to people, most importantly to listen. Margaret Chase Smith once said, people spend too much time talking and not enough time listening. She was dead on accurate. And I think that what we see today on the news every night is that just bluster, just people bloviating, as much to hear themselves talk as anything else, and that's wrong. That's not getting the work of the people done.
Some Republican candidates this fall have sort of backed away from their stance on repealing Obamacare. Do you still want to repeal Obamacare?
I absolutely want to repeal Obamacare. However, I want to do it surgically and not with a hatchet. That thing has metastasized throughout the government, throughout all of the different regulations. And I don't want to see anyone get hurt. I want to make sure that we pull it apart piece by piece and watch for unintended consequences and find some way to fix it, to do what's right for the people of this country. Repeal it, I want it all gone, but not with a hatchet.
On that note, you say on your website, when it comes to health insurance, the bigger the group of people being insured, the lower the rates should be. So by that logic, wouldn't a single-payer system that covers every single American drive down costs? Well,
single-payer system means the federal government, our tax dollars, pays for it. That's socialized medicine. I'm not a fan of that at all, and I don't support socialism or any aspect of it. What I do want to see is exactly what President Trump has done. Allow people to develop associations, like the Mid-Coast lobstermen get together, and now they're able to negotiate for their own health care. That's what I meant.
Let's talk about an environmental issue.
Sure.
You have said, quote, "Global warming is a coercive, fanatical religion, and I am a heretic. I am not a denier. There is nothing to deny." Now, the vast majority of scientists with expertise in the field say that the climate is warming and that it is caused by human activity. What makes you believe those scientists are wrong?
I believe the climate is changing, but my dispute is with how much man is causing it. I believe that there has been a biased agenda in reporting the data, and that's where you got that strong comment from.
What expertise do you have, though? I mean, you're not a climate scientist.
No,
so
I am a man of science, and I do understand how data should be collected and how it should be analyzed and then how it should be interpreted. And from what I can, granted, I have not read all the research. In fact, I haven't read a single primary source, and I'll bet there aren't many people in Maine who have. But what I have been able to read and what I have been able to discern is that there's an agenda that favors some form of blame for any temperature change, any iceberg that melts, anything else on the planet, on man. And I just don't see the data supports that.
You are a conservative, a proud conservative. You state that very clearly. Now, conservatives in this country used to believe in balanced budgets. Under President Trump, the deficit this year is going to rise substantially. It's projected to rise even more next year. All this in a healthy, growing economy. So that's an unusual combination. Strong economy, rising deficit. What would you do to address these runaway government deficits?
You know, out of all the interviews I've done, you're the only one to bring this up. That's to your credit. We have a $23 trillion debt in this country, and I think that is not only a disgrace, but it may very well be a national security issue, and we have to address that. The deficit is going up with President Trump because he has to rebuild our military. There's no question about that. It was in a very poor state of...
What would you do to address the problem? Give us a brief answer, because we're almost out of time.
I'm sorry. I would like to see more people at work, back at work. The labor participation rate is a problem. 20% of all the men, 25% of all the women in that group that aren't even counted on the rolls of the unemployed are on some form of opioid painkiller. We have to address that.
All right, we've got to let that be the final word. Mark Holbrook, Republican candidate for Congress in Maine's 1st District. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll be right back.